Nobody's born incredible. People who do incredible things simply took the right steps. This is our journey. This is the hunt for incredible. This is part 2 with Derek Sherrell, where we talk about the methods and tactics of profiting from ADUs, or accessory dwelling units. I hope you enjoy it. So you spend a lot of time on social media and creating that content. Have you found that creating that content has made an impact to the real estate side of things as you're trying to build, or is the content more you giving back to the community? I know a lot of your stuff is free. How does that fit into your overall strategy of what you're going for?
Yeah, wonderful question. It's a burden. Honestly, it's a burden. By taking the time to do social media and post it, and I answer DMs all day for free. I don't sell anything. I mean, I have a consultation business where people can pay me direct one-on-one for my time, but I talk people out of that. I'm like, just go watch my YouTube channel. Go watch this playlist. I'll send them a link. And it's like, this is all pre-made content. Like, it's free. If you still need my direct one-on-one time after that, call me and schedule a call, and I'll get on the phone with you direct. But really, it's a burden. It wouldn't have to be if I was in line with different models. I mean, people call me every week and they say, hey, I want to invest in a deal. Like, can you start an ADU fund? I want to send you money. There's a ton of opportunities. It's not a burden in the fact that the relationships I've made, like people like you, when I see you at an event someday, I'm going to already know, like, and trust you because we follow each other. So there's a ton of value. I don't capture a lot of that value because I don't, sell a course, or not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't like sell a course or a product. I don't build for other people. I don't have a book. I'm not trying to get people, into a mastermind. Not that there's anything wrong with that either, but based on my model and my strategy, it just takes a lot of time. With that being said, the capital that just goes like straight into my soul is the emails and text messages and DMs I get every day that people are like, you helped me build an ADU, or I didn't think I could do it, and I watched your series and we built it. I went to a consultation a couple months ago. It was a mother and daughter, a nurse and her retired mother together built an ADU basically based on my video series. And they were almost done with it. Like, absolutely,
that's amazing.
Almost brought tears to my eyes. So that kind of capital, that relationship capital of knowing that I'm making a difference and adding housing into markets that need it, that is not a burden. And that's the true wealth that I've found in social media. And I'll wrap up the social media piece with, I've only been doing this for 2.5 years. I woke up at 4 a.m. on December 19th, 2.5 years ago on my birthday, and decided I'm going to go onto social media and I'm going to share this. And I think the reason I've had a tiny bit of traction with helping people is because I'd spent almost 30 years doing the work. I was the worker bee with the strategy and something to actually teach before I started sharing it. And so many people today, I think they put the brand in the social media before the purpose. And the reason it's been easier for me is because I had the purpose before the social media.
Yeah, I can totally relate to the feeling of that impact you make. There was a story that I was told about from somebody who listened to one of my podcast episodes with Dylan Wright. And after they listened to that episode, they quit their job. They started their own company. I think they were a CPA. They quit their job, started their own company, and had stabilized it within about 6 months. And they were so happy. And the reason why they took that leap was because they listened to the podcast and they realized, like, hey, I can actually do this thing. I can make an impact on my life by taking these steps that are scary. And so, yeah, I mean, you sharing everything and being transparent and having that, being purpose driven with it, as opposed to just saying, how can I make as much money as possible? How can I look flashy to sell my course so that people think that they'll get rich once they sign up and all that jazz? I mean, it's a powerful thing when you do it for the right reasons. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah, well said.
So you mentioned 2.5 years ago, that was around the time that ADUs really started taking off. Do you think that it was the law changes that catalyzed this? I mean, there's a massive fire behind ADUs. Is it those law changes, or is something else going on in the space?
For sure. Yeah. A lot of it has to do with the legislation that the California legislator passed. I mean, we've got California is 6th, 7th biggest market in the world. And, overall financial market, not real estate. But they have this huge influx of accessory dwelling unit strategies in their state. There was recent laws that had passed in Oregon and California. We've had laws passing in Austin, Texas. So I tell people I've been talking about this strategy for almost 30 years, only because I was lucky enough to live in a small town that allowed these. But for 27 and a half years, I've been shouting this from the rooftop, and only the last few years people have listened because it started to gain a little bit of traction. And that's fine by me. So yes, it was kind of a timing thing. It just happened to work. I didn't plan it that way. It all kind of started as I got on a bigger real estate podcast and was like, okay, I better have some kind of like presence to have some kind of credibility. And that's why I started it. I wasn't trying to like time the laws that were coming. It just happened. It was also at the point where I was leaving my W-2 job as a fireman, and I was ready to pour my time and energy into some kind of a passion project. And I didn't know it would turn into what it has become. But as much time as it takes out of my day, like I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. And I'm so thankful. And being able to help people is a two-way street. Like there's people like you, there's content that I consume that changes my life every day, that changes the way I think. So it's this really positive cycle if you're in the right rooms and the right groups where everybody's just learning from each other and watching everybody win. And social media is the most powerful thing in the world, in my opinion. And I didn't learn that until, this last couple of years. Like I was probably 15 years late to the party, if you ask Gary Vee.
100%. Yeah, I mean, we are herd animals. We succeed by the herd. We fail by the herd. And if we don't leverage the herd, then we're sure to fail with 99% of things. So I want to tease out an important point that you made, or something that you touched on, which is you don't raise capital from other people. You only leverage the capital that you've built so far. You also have people on the other end of the spectrum that say, I don't use any of my own money. I exclusively raise capital. What are some of the reasons why you chose that specific strategy to just use your own capital as opposed to the alternative, just so that people understand there isn't only one way to do it and there are other factors to consider?
Because I'm willing to take risks on my skill set. Okay, I wouldn't want to leverage somebody else's money. The more we scale, so if I were to take money, I wouldn't be able to do everything myself and oversee the business and run the construction. I would have to start scaling that out and hiring project managers and coordinators and people that are outside of my control. And everybody talks about scaling up and building amazing teams and systems and processes. And the truth is, it's way harder than it sounds. Again, there's some people that are really good at that, and they're architects of their own little community, and they run all that. For me, I don't want anybody to question me. I don't want, I left my job because I'm unemployable. Like I want to do my own thing. I'm a lone wolf. I don't want to give anybody an annual report. I don't want anybody asking me when they're going to get their money back. It's so much easier to be in control. And some bigger investors have said, Derek, well, that's just a limiting belief. Like, let's get you to the next level. And it's like, for what? Like, I'm at the level I want to be at. I don't need the responsibility of managing somebody else's money, returns, and expectations. Like, I don't need it. If I were to start over from scratch today, knowing what I know, that would change. I would probably partner with somebody to get out of the gate because I understand how debt works now and I understand how partnerships work. But the main reason I don't take anybody's money is because I don't need it. And the second reason is I don't want it. And the third reason is really just because it's not in line with my goals. It's that simple.
Let's elaborate on that a bit more. So you mentioned if you were going to start over, because this is one of the best segments of the show. If you were going to start over with no money, no connections, you mentioned that you would partner somebody. What would that partnership look like, and how would you leverage it to jumpstart things like you mentioned? Yeah,
great. I would, I'll tell you what I've learned over the years is that there's a lot of money in the system. And as we think really small when we get started, like 20 grand's a lot, 100 grand's a lot, $1 million's a lot. 10 million's a lot. We just keep raising the bar. But there's a lot of money on the sidelines, and you need to have either the money, the deal, or the hustle and the knowledge. You don't have to have all of them. And with my skill set as boots on the ground, as owning construction, owning property management, being really good at relationships and getting plans submitted and approved and things like that, I would go to somebody with money and I would say, listen, I'm going to do all the work. You're never going to hear from me. And if you'd like to be a silent partner, over a short to mid period of time, we're going to make a lot of money. Is that something that you would be interested in? And here's my track record. And I would have some kind of deck to show that I have the skill set. Because right now, folks, like nobody wants to hear this, but the money's easy. Deals are harder to find. Money's expensive right now, but those are absolutely a breeze compared to finding labor. If you want to flip houses or you want to build houses or you want to do development, finding the person to be in the ditch to do the goddamn work is the hardest part. And I think I would just leverage that skill set to go to somebody with money and say, hey, we will get this done. We just need your silent partnership through money. And then we would structure that deal minimum 50-50. Like the main value is in the labor. I mean, I might even say, 70-30. A lot of people now are starting out as 30-70 because they want to get their foot in the door. But if you have a lot of skills and you have a track record, the money is the easy part. So I would go propose silent partnership for money while I did everything else.
And would you split it up? So let's say so your experience is in the boots on the ground. Would you pull in a partner that can also find deals and then a separate partner that can bring the capital, or would you find the deal yourself? Like, how do you think about that for your specific scenario?
Yeah, good question. I would personally myself, I have 2 small markets that I operate in, and I do, I find the deals, I fund the deals, I build the deals, I keep and hold and manage the deals and put tenants in them, period. So for my skill set, which is fairly unique, I would take as few partners as I possibly had to. Not just because I don't want to split the money or have more cool teammates to high five when we win. It's just the more people you have in a business, the more complicated and complex it can become. So no, I wouldn't go for a model of I need an acquisitions person and a disposition person and a project coordinator and a scheduler and 5 VAs and a couple of money partners and somebody who's always looking to raise capital. That is not in line with my goals. If I wanted to get to 10,000 units, I would consider that. But again, back to the beginning of the show, like I want to have as few amount of doors with the highest amount of cash flow, and I want to live a simple life, and I want to run. When there's powder on the mountain, I don't want to miss the ski day, things like that.
Okay, so let's say somebody has your skill set, they pull a capital partner onto the team, they find a deal, they see the empty lot. How do they verify the value that ADU provides? Because it'll be worth a different amount as an ADU than if it was on a separate lot like we spoke about a second ago. So how can people make sure they understand the appreciation that ADU is going to provide to the asset?
Easy. You find somebody in the market that's already done it, get a hold of them and add massive value to get a little bit of mentorship. If you're the first person to build a ADU in your market, like I would probably try something else. It's that simple. In every market, there's an expert to some degree in just about every strategy. Go to real estate meetups, post online, ask around, tell a friend, do whatever you can to find somebody who's already done what you want to do, and then either pay them or offer to add them some kind of massive value for a little bit of coaching. The second tip I would give is go to a local seasoned appraiser in that area. And I would call them up and I would say, hey, I'm not here to waste your time. I mean, is $500 an hour fair? Can I pay you $500 to look at my plan set to get your opinion of value on this lot in, say, 6 months? And that's a pretty sure way to understand what your investment is going to yield before you do it.
And then do lenders view ADUs differently, or is there anything tricky that you want to be sure that you have nailed down if you're going to refinance, let's say?
Yeah, they do. You would always want to preload everything with your lender. I'm not a qualified mortgage broker or lender, but I've done a lot of work on this. And I can tell you that we have amazing federal programs. Just as new as last year, you can now use a high percentage of the gross rents for the projected ADU income to help qualify for the purchase or the refi via increase of your debt to income ratio, boosting your DTI. If you are looking at ADUs, this is a big tip I'll give people. Some people will say, well, I wouldn't really want to build one because in my market, when they're built, they don't get 1-for-1 value. They may only get like 60 to 40 value. And I would tell you that's the market that I would be buying ADUs in. I've been building these for 30 years, and my favorite strategy to build an ADU is to buy a house that already has one. Okay, you can show up to the closing table with one down payment, with one round of financing, and get 30-year fixed rate debt on 2 assets for the price of 1.5. The federal regulations that allow ADUs financing stipulations are very similar to how we would finance a duplex.
I like that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And if you're a new investor, you can house hack. You buy with 3.5% to 5% down, maybe 0% down if you're VA qualified, and you move into the house and rent out the ADU, and there's a portion of your mortgage covered. A couple years ago, I would have said you could live in the ADU and rent out the house and you would have zero mortgage. You might even actually make some money. But with rates as high as they are now, you can buy a house with an ADU and live in one or the other and still be paying less in your market than it would be to rent while getting on the property ladder, while building equity, while having somebody else pay down your mortgage and getting amazing tax benefits. I mean, why would we not do this strategy?
Yeah, that's actually the first deal that I did. My wife and I, we bought a fourplex, effectively doing the same thing of just getting our foot in the door and taking that first leap, and then it just snowballed from there. And the rest is history. I mean, it's the law of the first deal, right? The most important thing is just that first deal. As long as you don't lose your shirt, you're good on it.
Yeah, amen, brother. Like, for sure.
What are some things that are catastrophic? Like, is there anything that you see people reach out to you for? Like, they made a mistake that just trashed the whole deal, and something that you can tell everybody, just make sure you don't do these top few things?
Yeah, never close on a property until you have something in writing from the city or county that says you can do what you want to do, or that you're buying what you think you are buying. I get a call every day from somebody that says, Derek, I watched all your stuff and I just closed on a house and I just found out that the garage conversion was not legally permitted. So I basically didn't buy a house in an ADU. I bought a house with an illegal existing use that now is going to be a huge headache. So zoning, okay, codes, regulations, the stuff that nobody wants to talk about. It'll put people to sleep. That's the rule book of how we make money in real estate, planning and zoning. So get to know your regulations. Never close on a property with the ADU strategy if it doesn't allow ADUs, or it allows ADUs, but there's nowhere for you to park, or it allows ADUs and there's a huge backyard, but you didn't do your due diligence and the city has like a gigantic storm drain easement through your backyard so you can never build on it. You have to become an expert in your local planning and zoning code. Never close on a property until you're sure you can do what you want to do. And you can put that in a deal as a contingency. Hey, I'm buying this house contingent upon approval or an email from the city that says, yes, you can build a 600 square foot ADU in the backyard off the alley. Okay, I'll close on that. I know I can meet the standards. What I see a lot of newer investors do is they don't want to ask tough questions. They don't really want to look up at the problems that they might have, and they put their blinders on and then they close and then they have all these problems. Like, the due diligence period in buying a house is where you shake out all the stuff. And maybe there is a huge roadblock to converting an illegal unit, but you can bargain the price down to cover it. I just see so many people put on their blinders and not want to ask the hard questions until it's theirs, and then they've already inherited the problem and they're working backwards. Like, don't be that buyer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you see any opportunities with the current economic environment for ADUs, other than just, we're still in a housing shortage and various things like that, but the current economic environment with high interest rates and people are speculating that they'll begin going down over the next year, is there anything different that you're doing in light of the economic environment, or is your strategies the same? The numbers just need to work. This is the system and we execute despite the economic environment.
Slow and steady. Luckily, like, honestly, I'm at a point in my career where I don't need all the cash flow. The deals we're doing right now are very thin, if even making any, maybe even breaking even, but they're in amazing areas, and over time they're going to do well. And we're playing the appreciation game now. Cash flow will get us off of our job, but you're going to get wealthy with appreciation. So we're looking for appreciation. For other investors, I would just say, look at a place that's going to reduce your number one housing expense. If you can house hack and get a unit like this and cut down, you'll have more money to save. Another huge financial impact that a lot of people don't talk about is our aging parents. So one of the main reasons why legislation was pushed early was for multi-generational households and aging parents. The largest lobby for the ADU movement in our country is AARP. So if we look at what it costs to put grandma or mom in a home, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month for decent at best care, I'm seeing a lot of people take their retirements and build a house on maybe their kids' property where they can have their own space and be close. So the economic impact, people are all looking at rates and the price of land. We also need to look at, like, what does it cost to live as we age? So this age in place movement is a really, really interesting way to force equity that's not actual physical dollars in a lot of cases. It's physical savings of dollars. So as opposed to putting mom into a home for $10,000 a month, I mean, literally in 10 months of costs, we can build this asset that's going to continue to produce over and over and over while she's there. And then eventually will become probably a needed rental unit that will continue to pay. So we're just looking at ways that we can adjust monies to make more financial sense than just cash flow. If you're just getting started, like, don't buy deals that don't cash flow. Like, that's how you go broke. But as you evolve your strategy, or maybe you're a high net worth individual that works a W-2 job and has to park some money, don't just look at the cash flow, look at all the value.
Yeah, I love that. Well, cool. Derek, it's been great chatting with you. We're going to wrap up with our main question of the show. When you hear the word incredible, what do you think of?
When I hear the word incredible, I just think of waking up to blue sky and no alarm and just feeling joy. I mean, everybody wants the same thing. We just want to feel good. So incredible to me means just having a joyful life.
I love that. And then in the morning when you think that and you walk into the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror, you see that incredible on your face with that mustache that not as many people can get away with, but it looks fantastic on you, good sir.
Hey, thank you. You know, as a fireman, I always never had a mustache. I said those are for cops. And then when COVID hit, I didn't shave for a while, and I ended up accidentally leaving a mustache, and it just kind of stuck. So I don't get many mustache compliments. I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Well, with that, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Derek. Where can people find you?
You can follow us at Instagram and YouTube. We're probably most active on those platforms where we give away all of our strategies. I tell all, if you have any questions, I'm in the DMs. Like, that's me, not a VA, getting back to you. So if you're ready to look at the strategy, feel free to reach out and hopefully we can help you.
Awesome. And on Instagram, you're that ADU guy. Is it the same on YouTube?
Yep, that ADU guy everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Google.
Awesome. Go check them out. Yeah, we'll keep in touch. Chat soon.
Cool. Thank you.